the number of wish lists you have going into Next Fest is a good barometer for how much attention you're going to get sort of in that initial salvo of Next Fest, which means that you kind of want to be entering Next Fest. The ideal position is you enter Next Fest without needing to be in Next Fest. As always, it's the same problem.
So
right?
just plan to just already be successful and not needing Next Fest, and then you're good to go.
And then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 552 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the weekly podcast for indie game developers. I'm Seth and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam, I'm the miscellaneous programmer.
I'm Sam and I'm their taste.
And we are Butterscotch Shenanigans. Today is December 12th, 2020 vibes. Today, we're going to talk about demos. But first, we got a couple of little housekeeping things to take care of. A couple of little announcements. One, this episode's coming out on Christmas Eve, so if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
If you don't, Merry whatever else you're doing.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. I hope everybody had as good of a year as possible.
Yeah.
Just given, it's just how it is these days.
Given the state of things.
Let's not aim too high, but I hope it went not bad. You know?
Yeah. Better than expected given the circumstances.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And, if it did go well for you, hell yeah. You earned it. We also have a pretty cool announcement, Sam, if you would like to.
Yeah, so on December 7th, I think, of 2015,
Pearl
was
Harbor.
when I got my all clear on my cancer diagnosis. That was the first time where they were like, you're in remission for real. And so basically, as of this episode, we are now 10 years cancer free, which means I hit it. It's a different threshold where they're just like, yeah, you're fine. It kind of peels off your record. It's like getting removed from my rap sheet.
It means you're as cancer free as the rest of us.
Yeah.
You're
So
cured.
I think I can get like life insurance now or something. I could check into that. I thought that happened at the 5-year mark, but apparently it was 10 years. So I was bummed about that 5 years ago. Now I can go get that started, They're thrilling things that you don't normally get thrilled about, but man, being able to do that is nice. So we'll get on that for this year.
So that's huge. And also, it was your second and the final remission, right? Because because for anybody who's not familiar with the story, it's because that whole saga started in 2012.
2013. October of 2013.
Went through a whole round of all the treatments, chemo, and all that kind of stuff. Got it knocked down. Thought it was fine, was in remission, and then was it like 6 months later, a year later?
6 months later, I was at Disney World with my wife's family. They took us on a trip to Florida and found a lump in the shower. So that was not fun, but the relapse happened, and then more stuff.
Because you were at Disney World, do you think
obviously
Disney probably did it.
Disney did it 100%.
God damn it.
So then I think as far as the gamut of procedures I had done, let's see, surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, full radiation, and then two stem cell transplants. So I don't even have my own blood anymore.
Don't forget the best one, the bone marrow biopsy.
You could never forget a bone marrow biopsy.
Got to drill into that bone and slurp up the juices while you're just sitting there.
It feels like in the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz, where her legs like curl up in themselves. When she gets like flat. That's basically what it feels like to have a bone marrow biopsy done if you're awake. So.
Yeah.
Would not recommend.
That's the one, like, out of all the stuff that you had done, there's, like, anybody who's been to the hospital can, like, think of some kind of a parallel of, like, having lots of, like, needles or IVs or things like that. But the drilling into the bone to get the marrow out, that's a unique experience to this particular thing that nobody should have to ever go through. But
also, it turns out that when you get stem cells from someone else, they smell like corn.
That was weird, and it smells as in, like, it's not like you smell creamed corn while you're getting it. It's like the whole fucking room smells like creamed corn. While
didn't you also taste it?
Taste it. Yeah,
because it goes into your blood and your tongue.
So it's in your tongue. Your tongue's like. Corn.
And your brain's like, did you eat corn? When, it's just...
I guess.
Yeah. And just so people kind of have like a little bit of a sense of just how kind of cool this transplant thing is. It's basically like you swap out your bone marrow with someone else's, essentially.
You basically burn out your bone marrow first.
you're
It's like a
radiating.
napalm chemotherapy.
Yeah, they delete your
thing.
bone marrow, so you can't make your own blood anymore.
Yeah. And then, before you die, they put
throw someone else's
everyone
bone
crosses their
marrow
fingers.
stem cells.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hopes that it
everybody
takes.
crosses their fingers, hopes that it takes, but then also that it doesn't try to kill you.
Yeah. Can't take
That was
too
the
hard.
other part.
Yeah.
So,
'Cause you
yeah,
put
that was
someone
a whole fucking
else's
rodeo, man.
immune system in there. Because the idea is like your body's producing cancer cells all the time, but your immune system is like, yeah, I know what this is, and it takes care of it. So if you get cancer, it's like a failure of the immune system to tackle the problem.
Mhm.
Well, in
And
Sam's case
so-
in particular, it's a cancer of the immune system. So,
Right.
yeah. The
So
police
if
can't
you-
police themselves.
Yeah,
That's-
get out of here.
Yeah.
So if you swap out someone else's immune system, now then you have like the rejection problem, right? Like if you get somebody else's organ, your immune system might attack it. That's the rejection thing. If you get
Mhm.
someone else's immune system, you're the organ, and now,
Yeah.
and
And it
now
wants to
anything,
attack you.
yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
so-
so
But
many.
you do, but you get it
risks
as
to
a baby because you get it as stem cells, and the stem cells don't know anything yet, so they don't actually know they're from somebody else necessarily.
They're less likely to attack you. They
Yeah.
they have to match them on like a bajillion different
Yeah.
gene levels
Yeah.
and stuff. And yeah, I'm very
But most of
It's
the
so
matching is
strange.
actually to avoid it conflicting with, because you can never really like fully truly burn out the entirety of what's there without killing a person,
Yeah.
So there's always some but any amount that's left of yours is going to go to battle, because really it's not about it attacking your body. It's about the two immune systems trying to kill each other, right? And so your immune system is there just a tiny bit, but it doesn't take much for it to turn into a horrible fight. So you still have to do they have to match it closely and to do all that kind of stuff, and then it's still
immunosuppressants
Who
for a
knows?
while
Yep.
and stuff. So yeah,
Crazy.
I'm it's very strange, being now 10 years out because you can't tell, which is a rare thing given all the shit that I had to deal with. You can't tell. You can't tell, which is nice.
It is kind of wild. Like 5 years doesn't seem like that long, but 10 years seems like a really fucking long time.
It is a long time.
I was thinking back to like what we were doing 10 years ago, what life was like 10 years ago, what we were thinking about the future 10 years ago. And it's like, man, times change.
Yep. Yeah.
It's been a minute. Well, congrats, Sam.
Thank you.
That's fucking huge.
Very thankful.
Proud of you for not dying.
Thanks,
Great work.
man.
Great
I'll do my
work.
best. Yeah.
So we have some other news. I guess it's just kind of news day. We will talk about the How Many Dudes demo.
Mhm.
and demos in
so-
general.
Yeah.
Demos in general. So we released the How Many Dudes demo on the 17th on Steam, which is in the future as we're recording this episode, but in the past as we release it.
Mhm.
So by the time this comes out, you will have had a whole week potentially to play the demo. But while recording this, we don't know what the fuck is going on. We don't know what's going to happen. So we just wanted to
You want to play it?
So we just wanted to kind of take this episode to talk about demos and talk about how to think about them, how we're thinking about them, how they seem to typically go when other people do them, why to do it, why not to do it, all these different things. Because we've had tons of conversations about this as we've been getting ready for How Many Dudes. So let's just
jump
get
in.
into it.
Yeah. I think
So-
the high level point is that on PC, so again, this is more so focused on the Steam oriented crowd. Demos have become a thing that you kind of have to do at some point in order to participate in the broader like visibility system, right, on Steam. And the reason is that because back in the day, 100 years ago on Steam, if you launched a game, Steam guaranteed some level of visibility. Okay.
Yeah, I think in the
You
old
could be-
days it guaranteed 500,000 views or something like that.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
your game.
Or 500,000 impressions of like the stuff, like the main
Yeah.
page, like the slugs, right? So the difference nowadays is that there's too many games on Steam. And so it actually requires that you essentially already have traffic to your store page, which we covered. We talked a lot about this in some of the marketing podcast pack, but you essentially have to somehow jumpstart your own things before Steam starts giving a crap about you. and
Steam
then
now
start-
thinks that you're responsible for the process by which Steam discovers if anybody wants your
Yes.
game at all. And then
Yes.
after that, it's responsible for doing a good job of selling your game.
and
Which is
so,
unfortunate, but also understandable
given the
Because-
volume.
given the volume of games. Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the YouTube Shorts being one of the mechanisms that we're using for How Many Dudes to essentially ratchet ourselves upward into Steam's visibility. And the demos are a thing also that Steam requires in many cases for participation in some of these other events that are actually essentially these these more guaranteed visibility things. So,
and the most important one being Steam Next Fest.
Next
because
Fest,
there are
yeah.
other events that use demos, but what we've seen with Steam events is that the ones that actually do something are, historically anyway, are Next Fest and sales, like the major sales. Because even the smaller sales, like in terms of like the overall impact, but Next Fest sort of became this surprise to us because we never really thought of demos as being useful or important. But when Steam first started doing Next Fest, we were just seeing people deliver huge numbers of wish lists to their upcoming games. And since the first days of Next Fest, and it's been variable, like each Next Fest has been better or worse, depending on, because Steam's tweaking stuff all the time. The one that we did with Crashlands 2 was, unfortunately for us, one of the less good ones overall in how it performed, because of some tweaks that they made. And so who knows, like each one it's a gamble every time, but it is like the biggest gamble that you can take right now on Steam before your launch is basically participating.
It's the only
in
guaranteed visibility.
But also it's which something we'll probably talk about as well. But like, not every game demos the same with the same level of efficacy. Yes. And Crashlands 2 is one of those, like, it's a slow burn, like story driven game where we have to stop it at some point. And so, man, it was so expensive to put that demo together because we had to inject like blocks all over the place.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I think it's one of those considerations when you're just upfront designing a game these days, that if you're not also kind of like we're talking about the YouTube Shorts thing, if you're not thinking about how easy or hard is it? Yeah, how hard it would be to demo cut this thing. So that's basically the context in which we're living now, which is like these demos are more or less required, right? And so for How Many Dudes, we're at the point where we've already sent some keys out to various influencers and stuff to get some early looks, and we're like, you know what, we're coming up on the end of the year. There's nothing happening. There's the winter sale, but like no games launch in the end.
If you look up lists of like, if you go to like look up any articles of like, give me lists of games launching in December, and the list just stops on the 19th. It's just like, nobody's launching shit on Christmas.
Yeah. Or nobody wants to deal with, there's two parts you have to compete with at that time, right? Which is everybody's doing a winter sale. So
and everybody's on vacation.
You don't want to compete with that. And everyone's doing steep winter sales too, because like everyone's on vacation, and all the workforce is on vacation.
Right.
So
all the people who would be responsible for managing the release of a game, they're on vacation.
and that's not just because there's pushing the buttons to get the game to go live, right? And that's a relatively easy process. Still intense, and there's a lot of little details, right? But a relatively easy process. But it's what happens if stuff goes wrong? What happens if stuff goes really right? You need to have people who are now dealing with that, and you don't want to be doing that over.
But this is a demo. Which we think is different. Which works a bit different.
So I would talk then about like just on a high level, the purpose, right? The point of these things. So
what are demos for? Who are they for? What are they for? What is their purpose?
Yeah. So again, like on the most highest level, just on like the kind of checking a box thing, it's like you have to have one in order to guarantee visibility on Steam nowadays, right? It is the only mechanism by which you have a guaranteed little piece of visibility at the very beginning of Next Fest, right? And it is in accordance to some degree with like how many wish lists your game already has, how much traffic your game is already getting. But it is, to our understanding, I believe this is on Chris Sakowski's How to Market a Game blog as well. There does appear to be basically guaranteed visibility in the opening kind of salvo of a Next Fest.
Yeah, that is still competing with a ton of other games, and it's still not what the guaranteed visibility used to be, but it is significant.
It's the only piece that exists these days. So that's point number one. It's the ticket to get into the carnival, right? You have to have one to do that. So that would be the number one use case for these things. So the reality there, though, is that like any demo is equivalent to any demo in that regard. If you have one, you put it in Next Fest, we're all on the same footing there. So then 2 is basically for players themselves, right? That's the next point. Basically saying, starting the funnel for your game, saying, okay, let's get some people to play this thing and see if they actually wishlist it after the fact. Get some feedback on the game early, and also just like it's a combo of player feedback for you from players, but also just seeing like broader market wise if the market's responding the way you want. And this would be looking at things like median playtime for your demo. So I believe the like benchmark number is like around an hour. If you have median playtime above an hour, an hour above for your game via the demo, then sources say that that's very good. So the original Crashlands 2 had, I think, like 54 minutes or so when we were doing all that stuff. depending on the game type, of course, that number will go up or down. The reason that's important, I think, is like there's a really good underlier there, which is like during Next Fest, there's a whole other chart that is like one of the other few organic charts in there, which says how many demo players there are for a given game, right? And I think I can't remember if it's a combo of concurrency and like total over the time or something like that. But basically, you can think about it like this: like it's kind of the same nature of all the rest of these metrics these days, which is the more time people spend playing your demo simultaneously, or like the more time any one person spends playing it, the more people simultaneously.
Between any two people.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
which
if you have
produces
10,000 people, each play your game for 8 seconds, then your concurrent player count is probably like 10
Zero.
at
Yeah,
any
yeah, it's
given
just like
time.
that. Yep.
Yeah, so if you the higher that median play time, the higher you go on those charts.
Yes.
So,
And so by and large, what you want is to, I mean, ideally, like I said, you want at least an hour. But if possible, depending on the context of the game, depending on the shape of the game, if this is something you've thought about ahead of time, you want more than that, right? Because the reality is that if you can get people just playing the demo a bunch, then there'll be more likelihood that in an event like Steam Next Fest, which again was the point in the first place, the only guaranteed visibility you get, then you'll have a higher chance of kind of having these things go up the charts, right? I think that's why you tend to see in things like Next Fest stuff that are basically idle games or games that play in the background tend to actually do really well Next Fest because you can run multiple games at a time, right? And so oftentimes people, they'll start up like Desktop Defenders was a big one that popped up in the last Next Fest, which is this little box. It's like a little kind of idle tower defense kind of thing that you just put up in the corner of your screen while you're doing stuff.
Yeah. Now, does that mean that the game is going to sell really well? It's unclear how that translates, right? Sometimes it will, but not necessarily. Because
it's something that relative success of games that do well in Next Fest doesn't really predict this relative success at launch. But it is, I think it is true that games that do really well at Next Fest also at least get up above the noise significantly.
Yeah, they will do well at launch.
But whether the game that did the best at Next Fest also does the best at launch, that's a lot less likely. Because they're different markets. They're different audiences.
Because we talked about how, like, when we go to conventions, which is, so if you think about kind of like it's a context in which people can just pick up a free game and play it, right? Next Fest, or if you go to a convention like PAX or something like that. And in those contexts, the types of games that tend to like draw a crowd and do really well isn't necessarily the same context of when people are purchasing a game. So like at conventions, couch co-op action PvP games do just crazy good because you typically at a convention with your friends or, and then you all gather around and you're all playing it, right? But then when you're at home thinking of a Steam game to buy, are you going to pick up the 4-player couch PvP game? Like, probably not, right? So there's kind of a context thing here, but it is still the case. Yeah, a lot of games that do really well in Next Fest, well, then that success.
I think it's like basically on the road to launch, you're trying to find these contexts where you're getting closer and closer to actual like market alignment. So you're getting feedback from players or platforms or whatever entities about your game that is closer and closer to what will happen at launch, so you can be more sure, right?
Yeah, but you always do have to take into account like that context.
That context,
and so you can try to make sure you're interpreting things and being like, well, what could be different about this versus the actual launch, given that this is, a demo. But I think we summarize that. Then the purpose of a demo. So this is one of the purposes of a demo, right? Which in this case is for Steam, is to drive wish list of your game, because it's a chance for people to see it before it launches in a way that gets surfaced, right? So it's to drive visibility to your game in order to get more wish lists. It's also to drive up internal metrics that Steam is recording of your game, to make it more likely that Steam thinks, hey, this could be a winner, and therefore it pushes it up the charts between then and release, and then for release in particular. So on Steam, like the core purpose of a demo is basically to be pushing your metrics. And then as part of that process, like we're saying, so then another purpose is you get to get feedback. Hopefully from a bunch of people. And it's, think of it as, I would just think of it as market testing plus like actual player feedback, right? So market testing is in just like, is this hitting? Is this landing? What aspects are good? What isn't working? Whatever. Figuring all that kind of stuff out, right? And then getting player feedback of things that you can do to adjust the game and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So all those are kind of like, I think wrapped up in even just like the singular experience of like a Next Fest, right? So much of that is actually next fest.
It is just
So
Next Fest, yeah. It's literally
Yeah.
the purpose is Next Fest, yeah.
So then you had the question, which is like, okay, so let's say you cut a demo for Next Fest, right? Or it's become apparent that you need to, regardless. So do you only launch the demo for Next Fest, though?
Yeah, do you launch it like into Next Fest?
Yeah,
Yeah,
as
or
in, is that its only purpose?
Is that its only purpose?
Yeah, and if that's its only purpose, what would be the best way to be successful in Next Fest with it?
Yeah.
Right.
And so a number of things have come to light. One is that the number of wish lists you have going into Next Fest is a good barometer for how much attention you're going to get sort of in that initial salvo of Next Fest, which means that you just kind of want to be entering Next Fest. The ideal position is you enter Next Fest without needing to be in Next Fest. As always, it's the same fucking problem.
So just plan to just already be successful and not needing Next Fest, and then you're good to go.
And then you're good to go.
Yeah. You also don't want your demo to have any stupid problems. I mean, like,
you want your demo to
like
be
hardware.
battle tested by the time it goes.
Like none of the stuff where it's like, oh, in our case, I believe it's still maybe with Crashlands 2, but definitely with Levelhead, where it's like defaulting to a laptop's not good GPU. There's things like that that are like just config nonsense, right? That you can really easily iron out with a couple hundred playtesters. But if you're doing it at the moment where you're getting people who are downloading your game being excited about it and they boot it up, doesn't work, they're just going to move the fuck on in the context of like Next Fest, right? So there's those things you need to iron out ahead of time.
And it is also the case too that there's a significant fraction of demo players are players who never or rarely buy games, and they're just excited to have free games. And those players also tend to have worse hardware. And so the testing that you've been doing in house with your friends, if you're QA team, if you've got it, whatever, is not going to be the same kind of a hardware audience as
good for optimization testing, though.
Exactly. But it's also why you don't want to have that go live right at the demo, because there's going to be some stuff that and even outside of like the details of like what it's biased towards, it's also just the range of devices, right? There's only so many you can test on. And you want to get that testing out of the way before it matters a lot.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so we definitely want to launch the demo before, just even if you're just trying to optimize for Next Fest, because a big part of that is optimizing literally on a technical level to make sure that your shit isn't broken. But again, you need to be coming into Next Fest with some power. So is there a way to use the demo outside of the context of Next Fest to actually like serve a different purpose here, which is a kind of broader market uptake? And what we've seen in the past is like with some games that have done very, very well. And Seth, I believe you have more of the details on like Bellatro's example of this, is that a lot of games that essentially maybe even have a harder time with their initial sell because they don't, if you just pitch like Bellatro, it doesn't sound particularly interesting. I mean, it's like a roguelike poker. It's like, okay. Yeah. It's thrilling. But when people start playing it, they can't stop playing it. Yeah. And so there's context in which
they want to tell other people to play it. Like Bellatro is one of those games that like, it makes you talk about how you can't stop playing Bellatro to everybody that you know, right? And so it's not just that because people still have to take the gamble on, no pun intended, on having the experience in the first place. Because we talk about this so much, right? Because there's the funneled into games. The problem with games is that the actual experience you're delivering is at the bottom of the funnel, and people don't know if they want it until they're already there, right? And so that gap between here's what this is and this is very fun to play is insurmountable a lot of the time. And so part of the idea of a demo is it lets people get over that hump because, hey, it's free. It's right there. It's usually a smaller download, all that kind of stuff, right? But most people
won't care.
Do that.
Yeah, most people
because they still have to get past that because there's enough friction still. And even if the friction was all gone, so you just clicked a thing and got to play it, and that was it. People only play stuff that they think sounds interesting, so it doesn't actually doesn't matter.
They wouldn't click in the first place.
Yeah,
so
people need proof. They need evidence that it's interesting. Right?
Did you want me to quickly go through a couple cliff notes of Bellatro's timeline?
Yeah, because basically there's Bellatro, there's Peglin, there's a couple of these games where they saw internally, like while they're developing, when they would hand it to friends, the friends would like eat it up, right? But when they would put out like a Steam store page and like that, it just kind of sits there. It doesn't really do anything. Because again, it seems like giving
Bellatro, right? So
so give us the details here.
So Bellatro got its Steam store page up, and basically up until April 2023, Bellatro was just like prototype card game. That was kind of it didn't really have a name. And so like in April 2023, the dev came up with the name, put up the Steam store page, blah blah blah. And within a month, he had 48 wish lists. Right.
Yeah.
So then like another month goes by. He's trying to he's starting sending the game to more people to try to get more attention on it. And it's just like the people who actually do respond and pick it up and play it are like, holy shit, I can't stop playing this. This is so good. But he just cannot fucking get people to respond.
To play it. And this again, this comes back to that one, it's just hard to get people to respond anyways, frankly, with anything.
Yeah.
But two,
So,
the high level pitch here is just hard.
The pitch has to be really compelling for people to do
just try.
to take the risk.
So then over the course of the next month, June goes by in 2023. At the end of that month, or in the middle of that month, he's got 183 wish lists. So still, he's getting a couple a day,
Yeah.
This is kind of it's basically what happens if you just have a game on Steam. You know what I mean? There's some kind of a floor where that just because the Steam is so big that there's just kind of this noisy.
There'll be a person finding your game through tags, basically.
Yeah, just kind of randomly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what Seth is describing is Bellatro, when it was first put up on the store, was performing just any random
a bad
game.
Unknown indie game that nobody's ever gonna play. That's what you would infer from the stats, right? So then the next month he started to finally get a couple of streamers picking up the game and playing it and stuff like that, and that actually started driving wish lists.
Is that from having a demo cut or just from keys? Okay.
No, yeah. So he was sending stuff out. Got some streamers, got some YouTubers to play it. And that kind of convinced him to make a demo because he's like, okay, I need to just make it easier for people to try this so that they see how good it is. And also that way maybe more people will stream it or whatever. So he puts up a demo. And it's a sort of almost like a time limited demo in a way where you get to play 50 rounds in the demo. Now it's unclear whether that means total and then you're just done playing the game, or is that per run? I assume it's total because
total, definitely total.
Because there's only 24 rounds in the full full 8 ante or whatever. So he basically put a cap on the demo, so you could only actually play the demo for maybe an hour, and then you just don't get to play anymore. But even with that, plus the streamer stuff that got him up to a couple thousand wishes. So then he's chilling 2,500 ish.
Yeah, which is still low in terms of what you need to be successful on Steam, but that's some huge boost over what was happening, right? Yeah.
So then he sees more people picking up this demo, more people streaming it, but they can only play it for a little while, and then they stop streaming it because you don't get to play it past 50 rounds. So he updated his demo to be uncapped on playtime, but he limited the scope of the content. So that way it's you don't get all the jokers and all the decks and whatever, but what you do have, you can just play with it as much as you want. So then over the next month, he got 24,000 wish lists added in the next month.
And now you're talking numbers that do stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and that was when things started to take off. So then over the course of 6 months, this trend just kind of continued. He got 10,000 wish lists the next month. He went into Next Fest, and kind of interestingly, his pace of wish lists didn't go up. It seems, if my math is right, during Next Fest, because he was kind of accumulating wish lists independently of that at a rate that, if you're paying attention to game demos and upcoming indie games, you probably would have seen Bellatro, and Next Fest wasn't a new thing.
It's also the scale of Next Fest, at least from what we've seen and from reporting done by Zukowski and other people. Just with anything on any platform, there's a huge range of what the outcomes can look like, and the top is always pretty enormous, right? But on Next Fest, it's you go 1 or 2 games down, and now you're talking about the kind of numbers that we're already describing here. You're talking about 5,000, small tens of thousands of numbers of wish lists, and it plummets from there, right? So that good performance in Next Fest, it looks like, again, it changes with every Next Fest as Steam tweaks stuff, but good performance on Next Fest looks like maybe 5 to 10,000 wish lists, right?
Yeah.
Which he's already getting. So
sorry, I'm wrong. he actually did. He sat on it, and he didn't do Next Fest in October. He did it in February.
Yeah, he did the right.
Yeah, and so he did get a lot of
Okay,
wish
cool,
lists
yeah,
in Next
yeah.
Fest. Yeah. So by the time he launched the game, I think in like February 2024, he had 208,000 wish lists.
Yeah,
So
nice.
he went from 0 to 1 a day, getting out a limited demo, getting a couple thousand, putting out a content capped demo, and then he was getting like 20,000 a month. And then like as he was approaching launch, well, I think the other kind of weird thing is so he did Next Fest like very close to his launch.
Yes.
And he had like 100 something thousand wish lists coming into the Next Fest, it looks like, on this. So if you want to read all this, you could just Google Bellatro timeline, and he wrote out the entire like timeline of everything. And so something that we had talked about before was like, if a game announces and also does like a big ad campaign, and then they have like a bunch of wish lists, you can't decouple whether the ads did anything or the announcement did it or whatever. Right. So kind of similar, when you're approaching your launch date on Steam, within that like 2-week window, Steam starts to ramp up on exposure, and like it starts showing the game to more people.
You show up in the upcoming and like the trending, or basically upcoming games lists.
Yeah.
Right?
So what you kind of see,
you can only show up on once.
Yeah.
Right.
And your wish list will often surge by like 50%, you know, in that last couple of weeks at least. And so in his case, it was all kind of like it was like a big confluence. But like right up as he was leading up to his launch, it looks like he did
a lot of
stuff like that. So
I see.
But it all worked, you know. But it was still kind of the case that, and I'll want to go back and check, but I don't know if this was true for Bellatro, but there were a lot of other indie games that are like, I don't want to say similar quality, but just like solo dev kinds of games. Like I think Brotato is kind of an interesting example where
similar scale maybe. So,
yeah, they're like, you know, smaller scoped kind of like roguelike-y kind of indie games. They just really do have a hard time getting press attention and like going through the traditional means. But then like if you look behind the scenes, like they're coming into their launches with like hundreds, thousands of wish lists and stuff like that, like a huge game. So but yeah, so it looks like for him, it really came down to like getting the demo out there, seeing that it was working, but then iterating on the demo as well as a marketing tool to kind of like get more attention onto it.
And so that's, I think, kind of the couple pieces there. One is, of course, the structure of the game, allowing for essentially infinite play, but only with a portion of the content. You know, again, we talk about like how a convention context favors certain kinds of games, and it's like what ends up being able to take advantage of that context to drive actual interest, right? In the case of like demoable games, a game that is able to have infinite content or infinite replay by virtue of only a slice of its content is going to typically be like a roguelike thing of some sort.
Yeah, it's basically instant hook and then tons of replayability despite limited content.
Yeah, and those are the kinds of things that work really well for a demo because you can essentially give away a portion of the game, but it ends up providing just this endless bounty of, you know, marketable beats basically from it, right? From
because also remember too that in the context of Next Fest, the people who are coming into Next Fest to like experience games are coming to experience games, plural, right? Yes. It's not the same as like someone hitting your store page and being like, I wonder if I want this. Ooh, there's a demo. Let me try it out and find out, right? It's a very different audience because if they experience a single moment of friction, well, it's Next Fest. There's literally 5,000 other games they can go choose from, and they'll go do that instead.
Or if it's a story game and they start getting into it, and they're like, well, I know that I'm going to hit a hard stop somewhere because it's a demo. So like, in a weird way, it kind of works against you, where it'd be like, I'm enjoying this story. I should stop playing the demo because I don't want to have to stop and spoil it and whatever.
Which still could be good for your wish lists and stuff, right? But it's not good for Steam's internal metrics of like whether they're going to show the game to more people in Next Fest.
So our thinking then with How Many Dudes was, okay, we actually have a game that fits these criteria. Part of it was designed up front, right? We wanted to make a game that could succeed in this particular context, and so we decided to get the demo out on December 17th, Wednesday, December 17th, with the intention to take advantage of that overall just lull in the end of December, where people are playing a lot of stuff. People got a lot of free time, but there's not actually there's not a lot of press coverage, there's not a lot of more like the other layers of things happening. But we can get
there's
the game out.
new stuff coming out. The competition we mostly have is with the sales.
Sales.
But of course, our demo's free, so like,
Yeah.
that's a real sale. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so part of it is then saying that in the long run, what you see with a lot of these games that produce a demo very, very early. And I think the prevailing wisdom currently is to try to get your demo out as soon as possible, right? Not just for Next Fest, but actually as early as possible.
It's the same logic as having your store page up as early as possible, right? Yeah.
It allows you to collect wish lists and stuff like that, but also importantly, it allows in the demo context, it allows for really these like organic happy accidents to happen, where it's like someone just picks it up and plays it, right? Or you have some people bugging a streamer that they watch who plays, say, like roguelikes and like that, who's like, oh my god, I played this like silly demo the other day. You should try it. It lets organic things happen. And
in particular, because there's nothing in the way. Nobody has to reach out and be like, hey, can I have a key to this game? You know, like,
yes. Just go to store page, just play demo.
Independent of you.
Yeah.
Stuff gets to happen.
I mean, how many dudes is tiny in terms of file size? I think it's like 50 megabytes or something, right? So like, if you don't even need hard drive space to play this fucking game. Like you just hit play.
Basically, you hit play and you've got it.
And you're good. Yeah. You'll download instantly and you're just in there. We don't even have the splash screen on it. It just goes like right into the game.
Yeah, we're just like, skip all of it. Let's go. And so, the thinking there is basically that you have this passive, you see in the case of Bellatro, you have this passive, generation tool in the background, this demo that's just kind of cruising. And you can use it for all the stuff we already talked about, but then the bigger one is like in the long run, just like a Steam store page, is just having a thing that is both able to like capture and generate interest from people that can go basically can kind of get out of your hands, like where it's no longer just the case that you have to be the one doing the marketing for it, right? If it's a case that people are playing it, people are talking about it, people can't stop talking about it. In the case of How Many Dudes, the structure of the game too is designed to make it so that people can have conversations about all of it. It's like known things, I got these wizard dudes, I got the, whatever. And then people can have conversations because the game's not out yet about what kind of content they want to see. And that's something we can pay attention to.
And we can use that feedback to guide what we do with the final game. And, it's a very different model from like with Crashens 2, we very much developed in a cave, right? Where when like we talked about in the previous couple of episodes on the podcast about how like we were following the like recommended sort of like marketing model of sit on your information, don't reveal stuff, and then you can use that information to get exclusive press coverage and exclusive access to YouTubers and streamers.
Which means that the only things that happen are the filtered things that you tried to make
manufacture.
Happen. And then the subset of that succeeded, right? Versus in the case of like a demo that's just got everything in it, that's just out in the wild. You're not a bottleneck. You're not at all. So you can keep trying to make things happen, but also everybody on the whole planet can too, right?
Yeah. So in terms of leverage, and part of this came from our conversation a couple weeks ago, where like Sam was kind of stressed from having having to put so much time into marketing and creating all these YouTube shorts, and that's taking time away from his ability to do art and design.
Because we're the bottleneck for marketing, right? Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, from a leverage standpoint, what if it wasn't only on us to make marketing materials? Because if we get the demo out, then anybody who plays it can become a word of mouth vector. And then if we make a YouTube short, we drive a bunch of people to the demo, then the leverage of that goes much higher.
Because then a subset of those might go on to actually play it and then stream it and then, do stuff with it.
Yeah.
So it basically allows for that multiplicative effect, in the background. So that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, I think it's the same logic as what you were talking about earlier about like the first Bellatro demo just stops. So then it creates this end point where people who want to do something don't anymore, right? Yep. And it just removes this whole layer of stuff that could be happening from a visibility standpoint. And by removing that, then potentially there's just like kind of always somebody playing it, right? There's always somebody playing it, talking about it, streaming it, fighting about it on the internet, whatever. It just kind of becomes present all the time.
Yeah. And so of course we'll be pairing this with, we'll put out some shorts that are point out the fact that demo's out, and we'll be doing some press pushes and stuff to, again, try to tell streamers that it's out.
We're launching this thing.
Yeah, we are quote unquote launching it, but so much of the reality these days in the game space feels like as an indie that it's just you can't rely on like, I don't know. You can't really rely on someone in particular picking up your game, right? So the particular press or particular streamers picking up your game. I think if you have a good game that has a good hook to it, you can rely on players playing it, like some players playing it. It's like the only thing you could kind of rely on if you manage to get word out about it. And then you can in theory, leverage that into some of those other pieces that you otherwise can't really get a hold of, right? With press and streamers, stuff like that. So I'm really curious to see how it goes. I guess we'll know in the new year in terms of the podcast how things are shaping up with it. And we're always just looking for signals that for like how well the game is going to do, how much it's worth to continue investing in, that sort of thing. I think right now what we've seen is that across the board, it's been easier to get attention to than like any of our other previous games. It's been easier to convert people into wish lists. But there's plenty of other games that have had basically a better trajectory in terms of like when they just put up their store page, like 9,000 wish lists. Right? Like there's games that have had these other things happen that we have not had happen.
Yeah, we were still on that very low end of daily wish lists. The kind of the noise layer of wish lists when we first put the store page up, which we expected because we're going for the whole like get it up instantly. And it looks like a small game. It was a jam game, so everything is jammy, right? Yeah. Like we were expecting to have low rates of traffic. We just wanted to already have it there so that if we talked about it on a podcast, talked about it anywhere, then
just build a net to capture people.
Build a net, make sure we're capturing people. And then we've just been continuously updating the store page as the game has progressed so that the net keeps getting better and better and better and better. Right?
Mm-hmm. And so comparatively, we've seen there have been other games that have like a similar scope or like another super small team or whatever that have had other kinds of like little moments happen for them, even at this point in their trajectory that we have not had yet, right? So part of the thing
we haven't had anything really huge happen.
Yeah, it's part of the thinking with the demo is like, let's get the demo out so that we can again open this possibility space for some of these things to happen, whether it's provoked by us or not.
Yeah, there's some chance that the demo launch itself blows up, right? Mm-hmm. We don't think that's likely because I think it's unlikely that any demo does that, right? But it's at least becomes possible. And even if that doesn't happen, again, that creates the mechanism by which other surprises can happen now, no longer blocked by, are we doing the thing, right?
Yes.
Did we send somebody a key? Did we ask somebody to do this? Did we announce this thing? Did we make this content? Whatever. We get to remove all that stuff and just be like, well, now it's just there. It's just passively hanging out, waiting for some kind of opportunity to happen, while at the same time, we are still doing that stuff.
Well, and importantly, it introduces, it's like a deviation of the marketing strategy that it introduces a risk, but also eliminates a different risk, right? Which is like, so with this idea of sitting on information, sitting on gameplay footage, sitting on your trailer, don't reveal it to anybody, and then use it for exclusives. That's if you think that what you have is going to be so captivating and so in demand that you'll be able to actually get those responses from those outlets and stuff, then that can potentially pay off. And if you're a Silk Song, if you're a Grand Theft Auto, if you're a game that people give a shit about, go for it. Like do that because it works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would. I'm curious because that's true that works, but it feels like it would also be that if that would work for you, then it seems like just talking about it would also.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the. Yeah, if everything you put out about your game is news, then it also I don't know, like you just don't need to talk about it at that point,
Yeah.
Whatever
is holding information and doing big announcements really just a conspiracy by AAA to prevent indies from having success?
I think it's actually like a modeling problem, which is like I think it's more so that like indies, because you care about your project as much as like a AAA project is worth. You know what I mean? You're not making Grand Theft Auto. It's not worth like $1 billion, but you might care about your thing. You care about it a lot, and you're like, this is good, and it might do really well. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this in the best way. And I think it's hard to believe that being kind of cavalier about information and access to your in development game might be the best way to do it, because that is sure as fuck not how AAA companies do it.
Well,
right?
and if you bring in a marketing company. Because like we've worked with PR companies and whatever over the years to try to like figure this stuff out, and their advice typically is the same as what I was just saying, which is they think about things in terms of exclusives and access to press and access to YouTubers, and they won't play your
press
game.
Beats, right? Big announcements.
They won't play your game and they won't talk about your game unless you give them something, right? So you got to give them an exclusive. You can't just give them a Steam key because they get 1 million Steam keys a day. They don't care about that, right? And so of course the fragility of that is what if you sat on all that information and then nobody cares? So if
that is the most likely scenario.
Big trailer reveal, you send it to a bunch of different people and they just don't write about it. They don't post anything. Nothing happens. Then you've gone months and months or years of silence, not accumulating wish lists, not broadcasting your game. And now still nobody knows about it.
And it might have been that nobody would have cared about that either, but the opportunity, it was completely gone. There wasn't even the chance that could happen.
So with how many dudes, we've even had conversations like, okay, we do have, like, we have a big Chinese audience for Crashlands, and we want to release how many dudes in Chinese. And we also have these like Brazilian streamers playing how many dudes. And so our top 3 countries for wishlist is US, China, and Brazil. And they're like pretty close actually. So like, okay, do we wait, sort of string lock this demo, get it translated, get it localized, and then release the demo in all languages, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, well, no, because that's going to take quite a bit of time. We're coming up on this holiday break. We won't be able to get any translation work done at that point. We have to start the process in January.
It just rests
in February.
I guess it just rests on the assumption that it would matter to someone if they got the game available to them.
It assumes that the demo will make a big splash, like right away. And instead, we're like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. Everything's incremental right now. We're just going like,
it's a big incremental game. That's it.
Take whatever low-hanging fruit we can grab off the tree just every single day, right? And so in this case, it's like we have a playable game that's fun as fuck. It's hilarious. We don't even have, I think, what do we have, like half of the icons right now for...
Yeah, there's plenty of placeholders.
So like there's tons of placeholder art in there. The special effects aren't done. There's so many missing pieces, but also like it's a pre-alpha demo and it says that, and it's still fun as fuck.
Well, things
and we also could treat localization that way too, right? As in not holding up the thing, but once we
just do it piecemeal,
just give people a message in their language, being like, "Hey,
this is partially translated.
This is only partially translated because this is an active development. So good luck." Yeah, exactly. And in the context of a demo that people are like opting into, they see that message, like it's gonna be fine, right? To have that kind of thing happen. And
we're not holding up the demo. We're just sending it.
But that point you're making is important. Of like, you have to understand what these different things are for, and therefore what makes sense, right? Because with a game release, what you're banking on is basically catching the flywheel that pushes stuff forward, and you also know that at some point that goes away, and then you actually end up having the reverse happen, which is basically visibility gets suppressed, right? So if you don't release if that version isn't the version that's like meant to catch the biggest flywheel, then you're creating a lot of risk there, right? Yeah, but also you're reducing the value of like adding languages later, because you'll add those languages and then Steam won't show it to anybody. So then,
I think it's still true that a release scenario is a different scenario.
Exactly.
To me, that's the one place where I'd still be precious about stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. But releasing the demos, it's again just like putting it to the store page. We're trying to get the net out there as quickly as possible, and then we're just making the net incrementally better.
We're trawling for wish lists. So I mean, and then we didn't really get too much into like the content of it, but we're going big with this thing. So
it's already playable for literally dozens of hours.
Yeah, like we've had a lot of internal conversations about like, are we giving away too much? But then at the end of the day, we're like, there are multiple ways to think about the content of a demo. One is you think about it as like, we want to just like tease people and get them interested in the idea of the game so that they wish list and then go buy the full game. And in that scenario, it's basically give them a hook and then cut them off, right?
If you're thinking about it as its purpose is conversion, then that's what it's for, right? Yeah.
But with our demo, we're like, we want people to play the demo.
I would say the purpose of our demo is marketing. That's our purpose. Yeah. And for that, like we were talking about earlier, we want as many people marketing the game on our behalf as possible, and the only way they're going to do that is if they get to play it a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd say to kind of put a fire point on it, the purpose of our demo is hype. Like we want people who play it to just be like, holy fuck, this is way bigger than I imagined. This is way more intricate and interesting than I could have imagined. I can't stop playing this game. I've played it the entire winter break, blah, blah, blah. And if we just give away like a little teaspoon of content and then cut you off, then like, what, you can't do that. You can't get into it.
We basically you want it to be like, I think the one problem with releasing a demo too early is actually if it's not really representative of what the game plays.
It's not like the store. Like the store, kind of as early as possible is fine, right?
Yeah,
but the demo, that's not true.
Yeah, and there's only like a couple of pieces where like certain parts of the game aren't all the way fully up there. For like there's not as many enemies as we're gonna obviously have. There's not as many like specific custom bosses as we're gonna have, but those are they're finer points. They're almost like polished points because the reality is like the game works. It just works really, really well.
I mean, it's still a case that
like
round 100 is a crazy boss.
Yeah, they're all crazy boss fights. Yeah,
and then it keeps escalating crazier and crazier. Now, like whether that's a rhinoceros or 1,000 giant bees.
Yeah,
that's just details.
Yep,
you know
exactly.
what I
mean? Yep, so it gives exactly what we want at this point. It'll just get even better in like the actual full version, and so. Yeah, we had a lot of discussions about how to slice it, but
and so like another interesting way to think about it is not as a demo for a full game, but where it's a free game with a paid DLC, right? Mm-hmm. The demo is the free game, and then the full release is the DLC, right? And if you think about it that way,
unlock, I guess.
Yeah, so it's meant to be a full experience, basically, right?
Yeah, and so if you're thinking about it that way, then the idea of even giving away like half of the game in the demo is fine because like
could make sense.
if you boot up I don't know, fucking Fortnite, right, which is free, you can just play it. You can play it for free for 10,000 hours if you want.
Cool.
They're not going to cut you off at any point. They're not like, "Ooh, are we giving away too much game?" And then they give you stuff to buy, right? So in our case, the stuff to buy is the game.
The rest of the game.
When it launches, then you get like the other 2/3 of the content or whatever.
Yeah. And we should say there is still a risk there, though, right? Because most people, like if you look at your analytics for any game that gets launched, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a game does really well if its median playtime, like total ever, is something like 3 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you launch a demo that somebody can absolutely enjoy the shit out of, right, for 3 hours, right, or more, then your median player is done.
Yep,
that's what that means, right? Which means you're now taking the big risk here is like you've now taken an audience who would have bought the game if they just if there wasn't a demo, right, or if the demo was like really short.
But that's kind of I don't think that's real.
No, just to finish the idea, though, right? So that's the idea of the risk is that, right? But that's only the case because it depends on who the market is for the demo, right?
Exactly.
Who's playing the demo? Is it the entirety of Steam who would have bought the game?
Yeah, people don't
if the demo wasn't there.
People don't buy the game after they play the demo as like a rule. Actually, it's sort of that's just not the case. Like the vast majority of people do not ever play your demo.
Yeah. So I honestly don't even think of the demo as a conversion tool. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's only a marketing tool because most people will never go play a demo. Most of the potential audience you can sell your game to will never play the demo.
But also, like, even if somebody plays a demo, so I think about so right now in World of Warcraft, we're kind of in like the downtime between expansions. We're at the end of an expansion. Nothing really new is going on. People aren't playing that much. In other words, kind of like you were talking about the demo, everybody, they played everything. They're done with it. They're kind of sick of the game, right? When the next expansion comes out, everybody comes back. Everybody comes back because it's like, oh, new shit, right? Like, I love this game. Yeah, I got tired of it because I played it a lot and ran out of stuff.
But I
had a break and now there's new stuff and I'm gonna go buy it.
It depends because here you're like that audience is biased towards people who have already been doing that for a decade, So like,
oh yeah, but the same thing goes with
that's their whole job.
Like Silk Song, right? People were like, yeah, I played the original for a long time and like I'm done playing it. Like if people really like something and then new stuff comes out later, they jump on that. you know?
Yeah, or at least again, a lot of them do, right? Because
Yeah.
it is going to be the case that a large, like, the more demo content you have, the more people will play the demo and call that sufficient. That is true. Whether or not that matters is the question.
Yep.
Yeah. The thing that freaks everybody out is the thought that it matters a lot. And I think we don't know, but I think
I think it's
yeah, our general belief, just think about, again, who plays demos, and there's that two parts, right? So who's playing it, and
It's
whether
just
or not
early
that pool
adopters,
is
man.
a risk. Yep. And then, as Seth is saying, do people who would normally stop playing, on average, do they get excited enough about new content to come back anyway, even though they are technically done? And our belief is that those two components come together to make it so that it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's our angle. So
Is it true? Who knows? We'll never know.
Yeah, because this episode comes out a week after the demo launches, and we're recording it 5 days before the launch. So I don't know. I mean, my just to kind of like throw a prediction line out there, you know. My prediction is that the demo will be a slow burn until there's some kind of uptake from any like streamer or YouTubers or whatever, which we are sending out a bunch of info about the demo to those people. But I think the people who play it are probably going to play the shit out of it. And I'm expecting a pretty good median play time on this demo.
Yeah.
But whether or not we catch one of those like big broadcasts that then really like starts the flywheel spinning, that's just kind of down to luck. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we only have like 500 people play the demo in the first even few weeks, because it just might go that way. But it also might
we're casting a net to have the possibility of opportunities, right?
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. And that's all the time we have for this week's episode. We'd like to thank our producers, Fat Bart and Sampa Acosta, for putting the podcast together. And thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. To get more involved in the Butterscotch community, just go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate, and links to the podcast archives. And if you haven't yet, get on Steam. Check out the How Many Dudes demo. It slaps. And by it slaps, I mean we updated the main menu to have a gorilla that slaps dudes to the beat of the music.
So, get in there. It's a good time.
At the very least, it's worth grabbing the demo just to vibe on the main menu while this gorilla slaps dudes around, because it's a pretty good time. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.